Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1042, written by Syeleishere. My daughter and I, Lords of Spacetime. My daughter and I went to Albuquerque for a conference a few years ago. I was trying to find a place to eat dinner. There was tons of traffic and road construction, really frustrating driving conditions. I had the GPS going finally to a restaurant, and we were starving, so we constantly were checking the ETA, like 15 more minutes to dinner. Anyways, at around 5 minutes till we were due to arrive, I was driving over a bridge area. Traffic was still very heavy. I glanced quickly at the GPS, and it was spinning. I told my daughter, "Look." She saw it spin, looked back at traffic. Only a second had passed, but was now 30 minutes from the restaurant. The car going another way, and no sign of the bridge anywhere. I am freaked out any time I think of this, and my daughter remembers it the same. When we hear a strange story, one of us will say, "Like that time we teleported." I don't know what to make of it, but we were not too happy about the extra time to get to the restaurant. Case notes are file 1042. Masters of Spacetime, my daughter and I. So the compass spinning is fascinating. It means there was electromagnetic interference. Not surprising, but if spacetime portals are involved in these teleportation events, and so frequently experienced while driving, it means one additional piece to the puzzle was added: EM interference. It might mean there's technology involved. Maybe aliens are causing these, or maybe it's even an artifact of their own technology. If aliens are here, I would imagine they would have advanced cloaking technology. So we wouldn't even be able to see them most of the time unless they wanted us to, or unless it was malfunctioning on their end. But I don't think that's very likely. No, I think this could be artifacts of distorting spacetime. And if they're able to interfere with gravity itself without thrust, displacing an object behind them, they're just able to levitate via magnetism. But a more advanced version that's able to actually manipulate spacetime itself, I could imagine this causing issues with the fabric of spacetime itself. It's funny, in Star Trek, eventually they reach a point where they realize their warp drives are actually damaging the fabric of spacetime. Maybe something like that is going on here. Maybe it's not the universe being unstable. Maybe it's aliens. Creepy file number 86, written by Msommervillej, room 1709. It was April of 2008. I was 20 and living in Denver for a year-long contract with a non-profit in Boulder. My girlfriend, now wife, and my best friend Tim drove to Colorado from our home state to visit me for my 21st birthday. The non-profit I was working for housed their workers in dorm rooms, and drinking was not allowed on site, nor were visitors allowed to stay overnight. So I booked a hotel room in downtown Denver for the weekend, where we could drink in honor of my 21st. The hotel was big, very nice, and in a safe, central area of the city. So nice, in fact, that it was the same hotel that most of the politicians would later stay at during the DNC convention of '08 that took place in Denver later that summer. My wife and Tim arrived Saturday morning, and we all met up at the hotel. The day was fantastic. We drank across the city most of the day. By about 1 a.m., we got back to the hotel. The room was typical with 2 queen beds. Bed number 1 was close to a big window looking out across the city. Bed number 2 was pushed against the wall with a door that opened to the bathroom. You couldn't see the door entryway to our room unless you were at the foot of bed number 1. We drank more and chatted in the room until about 4 a.m. My wife was laying at the head of bed number 2, flipping through the TV. Tim and I were seated at the foot of bed number 1, staring out of the window as we talked. While chit-chatting, I heard some movement and the sound of a door opening. Without looking away from the window, I assumed it was my wife getting up to use the bathroom. A few minutes passed by and I thought I heard movement again, so I finally turned around to look. I saw my wife still lounging in bed number 2 as she had been before. "Did you get up a few minutes ago and use the bathroom?" I asked her. "No," she replied. "I thought I heard a door," I said back to her, with her looking confused back at me. "Yeah, I thought I heard that too," Tim said, breaking his own gaze from the window. It was then I started to run cold and sobered up pretty quickly. Very softly, I heard Tim say, "I think there's someone in our room." I lurched forward from the foot of the bed to look into the pitch-black entryway. I could barely make it out, and I wanted to believe I wasn't seeing it. But there was a man dressed in all black, with a black baseball cap pressed into the 90-degree corner of the entryway where the room door and wall met. Absolute silence fell on the room, and it felt like hours passed by as I started to panic in my mind like no way I ever have in my entire life. We all knew. We knew we weren't alone and hadn't been for a while, and he knew we spotted him. Eventually, Tim got the courage to meekly speak in the direction of the entryway and said, "Hey, man, is there something we can help you with?" Another period of silence that felt like an eternity went by. He slumped off the edge of the wall a little, into the light, and made eye contact with Tim and I. We all just stared at each other. Then eventually, he spoke up and said, "Is this room 1709? "No, man, it's not," Tim said, stroking his beard nervously. He stared at us for a while longer, raising his eyebrows and shaking his head. He then turned around and left. We then erupted into a million curse words and paced around the room. I called the front desk. They told me that he was drunk and they found him in the stairwell, but directed him back to the right room. Minutes later, Tim called the front desk and they told him he was not a guest. He was apprehended in the stairwell and taken into police custody. Then a while later, they told my wife he disappeared and they had no idea who he was or what he was doing. They told her there wasn't even a room 1709 in the hotel. We got 3 different stories. We still have no idea what that was all about, or how he managed to get a keycard to a room. We were sure the door was closed. It was easily the most terrifying moment of my life. Always use the latch in the hotel rooms. We got the stay refunded and about $200 in credit for food from the hotel. We should have sued, but we were young and dumb. Case notes for the creepy file number 86, room 1709. So I know in the moment this would have been horrifyingly unsettling, but something about the line of him asking casually what room it was comes off as a bit funny in the moment when I was reading it. Is this room 1709? Was he actually drunk? Or was he trying to steal something and didn't expect people to be in the room at that hour? Or maybe he expected you to be sleeping. And one thing I recommend that people get when staying in hotels or any unfamiliar place is a door stopper. There's ones that attach into the door bolt area, where the door closes and the bolt from the door handle goes into the actual bracket of the wall. You can attach in something that connects within it. It's like a metal bracket. It's very light, portable, and it just prevents the door from being opened. I mean, you could brute force it fairly easily, but it would make a large noise and you couldn't just pick the lock and come in stealthily. Or if you have the key. I wonder if this person had help from the front desk. Maybe that would explain why there were 3 different stories, just trying to make you go away, but you kept asking questions. My gut says there's more going on here than just a drunkard. Of course, it happened so long ago you'll never know, but I'm glad you were safe. That's the main point. And now time for the quote of the day. We must all suffer from one of 2 pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is that discipline weighs in ounces, while regret weighs in tons. Jim Rohn. Yeah, regret is heavy. You ever think back on your past and think, that was an opportunity I missed. I should have done that. I should have gone on the outing with my friends. I should have climbed that mountain. I should have been more bold. Or maybe you regret a choice that you made that was too risky. It's not as clear-cut as sometimes people want it to be, because sometimes taking too many risks is the problem and the thing you regret. And of course, sometimes not taking enough risks is what you regret. There's no redos in life unless you have some weird space-time rewind anomaly. Generally speaking, the moves you make, those are the moves and you have to live with. If you're not happy with them, there's not much that can be changed about it. It may just be that this is one template of the world, one universe in a great multiversal simulation, and when we eventually do die for real, we just awaken in the real world and get to pick a new adventure. It's an interesting concept. And I don't think it takes away from the meaning of life if it's true. I don't think it means that it's not worth living life and trying your best and making the best of it. Not at all. I think it's important to know what you want from life and to go for it. And while regret is inevitable, don't let it weigh you down in the tons that it is. push it off, brush it off. It's not worth letting it destroy your life. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off. And Dave says bye too.